Mr. Lobo here at Times Square for the Sleepless Knights podcast. We are ready to light up our jumbo scoreboard. As you know, our primary goal is 1,074 listeners on Patreon. And thanks to your monthly support, our total number of patrons comes to... maybe the sign's broken.
Maybe they don't know that you can pledge monthly now. I mean, for only $4 a month, you can support 4 episodes of the show.
And $8 a month gets you segment 5, a whole extra show segment made just for them. And we have a whole bunch of items in tiered plan, including the producer credits and sticker club and more.
Patrons also get to hear the show a week ahead of everyone else.
People, as you know, the Sleepless Knights podcast, hosted by Mr. Lobo of Cinema Insomnia and that pantsless producer over here, Paul Sanders of Bestow TV, is weird, fun, experimental, obtuse, and thought-provoking. If quality programs mean something to each of you and you enjoy being a fly on the wall for our 3 a.m. conversations, please support the show monthly on Patreon. Take out your phones right now. Patreon.com/sleeplessnightspodcast for $4 or more a month and help us reach our goal. That's patreon.com/SLEEPLESKNIGHTS Now that's only one D in podcast, even though we still emphasize the I.
Hey, where's everyone going?
They're all going home to sign up with us on Patreon.
Yeah, sure.
Attention, Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast, live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. If you're having a hard time hearing us, we're now in an alternate reality. Last week, Miss Mittens from Earth 2 touched Miss Mittens' Kong, and there was some kind of cataclysm, and now we're in a parallel universe, which is exactly the same as before, but a foot to the left. I was going through the refrigerator. The ketchup that used to be in the drawer was actually in the crisper. So I'm already, there are some weird residual effects from that. Yeah. Are you having any weirdness up there in space, Paul?
Well, I'm glad it's the same as the last universe, but only slightly to the left, because that doesn't mean I have to change anything as far as the plot line for any future projects coming with us. That's great. However, I did notice some problems with Gal. Like it's kind of messed with the guidance systems. We went to go to take the exit to go to M Mart on Asteroid M, and we hit the exit like too soon because he was turning left way too soon. And,
wow. So it was calling it out a foot too soon?
Actually 2 feet, because it was already a foot off before.
Oh, wow.
If you know GPSs, they're always.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, so so all of you who are listening at home, if you are having trouble, or if you're feeling strange while you're listening to the episode, I would advise anyone listening to this right now to take a step to would you take a step to the right if everything is to the left? No, you got to go to the left also.
Yeah.
So to line yourself up, take a step to the left, and then everything should come in loud and clear.
Right.
At that point.
Now, do you have to put your hands on your hips?
Yes. The pelvic thrust is optional, though.
Okay.
All right. So Dixie just brought me some pasta that hopefully, the good thing is not a foot to the left of this bowl, or there would be a mess here. So, it is interesting, and I'm hoping that maybe everything being a foot to the left hopefully will improve everyone's attitudes a little bit. I feel like, we've talked about this on the show a lot about toxic fandoms, right? About, everybody complains about everything. I'd love to critic all the critics. Like, I'm so tired of hearing people complain about things. I could almost do a whole show just complaining about everyone who's got a show complaining.
Right. It's actually, there's a few YouTubers that I used to subscribe to, and I silently unsubscribe because that's just been the button to push for every single review from here on out. Is just hate. And even calling out, even to the degree of calling out their haters and then hating their haters and then hating on themselves from their haters. It's just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a bit, but when you do it like 7 times in an hour, it gets to be obnoxious.
It's interesting because it's a whole culture of the internet doesn't care about you. They just want your clicks. They just want your eyeballs. They just want those numbers. And so, they're going to imply that your favorite celebrity's got cancer. They're going to tell you, hey, here's 10 things you never knew about this movie when it's 10 things that everybody knows about that movie.
Right. And one thing you didn't. Here's 9 things you didn't know about, and one thing you did. I knew that one thing. Bullshit. I call bullshit on this.
So it's there's a lot of like if you get a recipe online, half the time they don't even tell you the right amounts for the things in the recipe.
Right.
They don't care if your falafel turns out.
Put a handful of cinnamon and hate the hell out of that cinnamon. Hate it from the depths of your heart.
And I think that
yes, hate
that hate cinnamon
run through you.
Everything is proceeding according to my design.
Yes.
So the problem is, and
that didn't take long for a Star Wars reference, and even though we're in the left-handed universe.
Yes, it eventually caught up with us. The problem is that again, if you're in the business of everything's commercial, everything is we live in a capitalist society. Everything is for money. Everything is for attention, and the currency is the hype. It doesn't matter if you like what they're doing or don't like what you're doing. They don't care. They just want your attention because that is ultimately what brings the money. But I think that one of the things that's really strange about I'm not really strange, but is sad about it is that I think from a content producer standpoint, obviously conflict is always exciting. Conflict is always more exciting than no conflict. Every story is about conflict. Every adventure movie is about conflict. If you have a bunch of people complacently enjoying themselves, it's hard to make that an entertaining show. I get it. But the opposite of that is that that if you hate on something, you're going to get so much more attention than if you like something. The parallel that I always think about that is like with the channel. It's like, it would be great to have millions of views on the channel. And I think it would be a very easy thing to do if we just had more content in the channel that implied sex in any way. Because if you look at those
Mittens get those breast implants.
Because if you look at those stats, it's like every show that maybe has a attractive girl in the icon, or like sleazy show because maybe it's they think they might see especially since the show's called Sleazy Pictures After Dark.
Yeah, because you get one hit for sleazy and another hit for After Dark.
We're
all programmed for After Dark.
They're all really hoping they're gonna see something that's better than a crappy crime movie from the 70s, but most of the time it's gonna be that crappy crappy crime movie from the 70s and Sleazy just talking about it. Sure, I mean, there is a Flesh Gordon episode and there are a few saucy episodes, but I feel like, again, Scream Queen Stream, that's another one that's on the channel where it's two attractive young ladies who are actresses, and it's just a talk show. They're not doing anything. They're not showing you anything, but just that implication of sex is enough to get people to click those views. I remember when I worked for Apprehensive Films, if they put a woman or a gun on the cover, doesn't matter if it's like Heidi or Old Yeller or, it doesn't matter what video
I've seen those movies. Just because of the gun and
naked woman
and
a gun on the cover of Old Yeller. Just that promise of that, automatically means you're going to, they might only watch for 4 minutes, but you've already got them and it doesn't matter. And so, obviously if we were to run this, if we got paid for every click or paid for every subscriber on OSI 74, we probably would be more inclined to jam more content in there that's going to attract people, even if they're going to be disappointed once they click on it. So that brings us back to the YouTubers. If they say, the Mortal Kombat movie sucks and here's why, that's going to get a lot more attention than, we watched the Mortal Kombat movie. We're going to tell you everything we know about it, and we're going to let you make up your own mind about how you feel about it.
Mortal Kombat movie was meh.
Yeah, it was just okay.
It was okay.
It was just all right.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't need
Aaron
to
is right over here eating pasta. What did you think of the Mortal Kombat movie?
Nailed it. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's all right.
It wasn't horrible.
Yeah. Can you hear him?
I can hear him.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't great, wasn't horrible. And I was here with him, and it kind of seemed like a made for sci-fi movie a little bit.
Exactly.
Annihilation was more of a made for sci-fi movie.
Annihilation was the made for sci-fi.
I think this was a little bit better than sci-fi. This might have been like Lifetime.
Lifetime?
Yeah.
Bravo presents.
Bravo presents Mortal Kombat.
IFC's Mortal Kombat. I mean, again, it didn't have any stars in it. The movie only cost $17 million, right?
Right.
I mean, it wasn't 17. Do you know what the budget was?
I think the original cost that.
Oh, okay, maybe 70 million.
Somewhere between like 50 and 70.
Batman versus Superman was what, $400 million or some freaking ridiculous thing. When a Snyder cut, if you put the two of those Justice League movies together, that's probably like $800 million or something.
Right.
So, I mean, again, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, they're delivering something that, doesn't have Bruce Willis in it. Not that it would ever have Bruce Willis, but doesn't have a big name in it that I know of. Is there a big name? Was there a big name in the Mortal Kombat movie? Sub-Zero was the big name.
No, actually, I don't.
Yeah, the biggest actor is the guy from the Raid Redemption.
Okay, the guy from Raid Redemption is the biggest actor.
That it's the guy from.
The guy from.
Yeah, you don't know his name.
We don't even know his name. But yeah, so I'm sorry to repeat everything Aaron is saying. I'm just like
just in case we don't hear him.
Yeah, overly worried about him getting picked up. But again, you got this movie that first of all is a video game movie. Second of all, that video game's dumb as rocks.
Well, especially when you get to Mortal Kombat 3 and they're skirting around like the ESRB ratings and making it a little bit less bloody. So the blood is turned into, it goes from red to green, and you do your fatalities and the guy spills out like 3 skulls and six chest bones and 47 femurs. But God damn it, if this movie is not realistic enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how bar does does it have to be? How high does the bar have to be for a more
higher than the Mario movie? I'd assume. Higher than Annihilation, I guess.
I guess. But, it made me ask a question in the group, in the Cinema Insomnia fan group. I started asking, of all of creative projects that have been going for a long time, who's got the most satisfied fandom? You know, who takes care of their fans? Who's doing a good job? Because it just seems like everybody's terrible at it, right? I mean, the Star Wars fans have been unhappy for a while and pretty vocal about it. I mean, thank God for The Mandalorian. But
there's still hate.
Still hate, even with The Mandalorian, yeah. Another filler episode. What, they had too much fun and too much adventure? You need them to break down some more drama for you in the middle of this children's adventure show?
Why did they have to digitize Luke Skywalker? They should have wheeled him out of his grave and let him actually act.
Mandalorian's dad is.
What is it?
We don't even know who the Mandalorian's dad is.
We don't know who the Mandalorian's dad is.
His dad might be Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
we have to connect it all.
Oh yeah, every character's got to be connected. So Obi-Wan is somehow the Mandalorian's dad. I'm gonna eat a little more of this pasta, and again, we're talking a lot about who's doing it wrong. When we come back, we're gonna dig deep and try to figure out where are the non-toxic fandoms
and how to avoid them.
Meet little Melvin. He's a 90-pound weakling. Everyone hated Melvin.
I'm gonna take this mop and shove it down your throat.
They teased him.
I wanna do it with you. Okay.
They taunted him. They tormented him until he had a horrifying accident and fell into a vat of nuclear waste, transforming little Melvin into a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength. Melvin became the Toxic Avenger, the first superhero born out of nuclear waste. His face is so terrifying, we can't show it to you now. You'll have to see the movie for yourself. The Toxic Avenger can bend steel with his bare hands.
Oh, we're on a kid. Get it?
Leap small cars in a single bound. He crushes drug pushers. Smashes hit-and-run drivers. For incredible explosive action, you must see the Toxic Avenger. He's a different kind of hero. The Toxic Avenger is coming to your town. Look out.
You're not dreaming. You're a foot to the left, and you're listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast. We are, of course, in this alternate universe. I was kind of hoping that in this universe, we'd have some better fandoms, because the fandoms in the universe a foot to the right were pretty toxic and pretty miserable. Paul, there was something that you wanted to, that we talked about during the break?
Well, I was saying, you had brought up about like the Zack Snyder cut, and I almost feel like that's almost in upon itself a positive. The true fans wanted that. We got something from the studio. We were trying to figure out the terms for like maybe the toxic production company and how they get their fingers into things. Even worse were like they didn't even want him to release this movie. They didn't even want the Zack Snyder cut, and I guess they don't want trucks of pennies being backed up to. Oh wait, that's me. They don't want trucks of $100 bills backed up to their houses with the shovel. But I feel like it was like the fans, the true fans, wanted to see his vision. Regardless of what you think of Man of Steel or Batman v Superman or any of those other ones, that people wanted to see him complete and finish his story.
Yeah, and I know there are a lot of people who aren't fans of Zack Snyder, but his fans are. They will lay their lives down for him. I mean, that is like a very overzealous fan group. I wouldn't necessarily say not completely non-toxic, but it is amazing how
you're gonna have to pick your battles when we talk about this.
but I wouldn't say they're non-toxic, but damn it, it's just like they're ready to embrace all of his stuff. They want to reinstate they want a mandate from Mayor McCheese to reinstate the Snyderverse.
Right. Which, I agree with one person that had written online that Warner Brothers not give him 3 films, but give him one film to wrap it all up. And I kind of agree with that because it's like, well, it's a risk to give him 3 films. But I'm pretty sure that all that, considering what's that post cut, that the epilogue, you can pretty much wrap all that up in a single film. I think you could do that in one take. But the other positive thing that I wanted to say was that I guess what did they raise, like 70 million? Like he wanted 70 million to finish that, and he didn't take that 70 million went to production costs. He got paid nothing for that. He didn't want anything out of that. He just wanted the Snyder Cut released.
Yeah,
which I find very positive.
That is interesting. And obviously, I don't know. I think the Snyder Cut, I think Warner Brothers, even though that they probably didn't want that movie to,
right.
be released again.
I feel like that their hands were tied because of chronic diarrhea.
Yeah, I think that they wanted something to put out there, and especially since Marvel's been, sort of stumbling since Endgame. And I think that was kind of I think that, and then of course there was that one actor who felt like he was mistreated on set.
Right, the cyborg actor, and I feel bad that I don't know his name. Aaron. Ray Fisher. See, isn't it great that Aaron is just a foot to the left? Right. Literally.
He's actually maybe like 10 feet to the left. He's in a whole nother dimension, parallel universe. But, I mean, there was a lot of concerns there, and we've got a lot of concerns in our culture right now, especially with how, we're treating each other as human beings. And there was concerns about racism and concerns about a lot of things. So I felt like from a PR perspective, there was probably something to gain there by reactivating his story into that and telling his origin into that when it was one of the, since so much of Ray Fisher's part was removed from the original version of that.
And it's so bizarre because it's like the whole plot is basically he's tied to the plot. He's tied to, spoilers, but he's tied to the resurrection of Superman. It's not some stupid little thing, whatever they came up with. I don't even remember what they came up with the original, but he's tied to the mother boxes, so of course he would know.
Yeah, and it's kind of like like I said, this was almost the Cyborg movie with a side of Justice League.
But the one toxic thing that I am going to bring out about this, is stop using the fucking slow motion. Lois Lane doesn't need a slow motion scene. Aquaman doesn't need a slow motion scene. Wonder Woman doesn't need a slow motion scene. Superman doesn't need a slow motion scene. You know what happens when you give everybody a slow motion scene? When it's effective for Flash, who does need a slow motion scene, and it becomes ineffective because everybody on the Justice League, including Lois Lane, gets a slow motion scene.
I don't know. I feel like Zack Snyder is just I don't know.
Somebody said that was his thing. That's what he does.
That's his lens flares, having everybody in slow motion, right? If J.J. Abrams is Mr. Lens Flares, he's Mr. Slow-mo. I think all of his movies are beautiful. I think he's an amazing visual director. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Do we sell a shirt? Maybe we have to make the shirt that says we've talked about this on the podcast before. Right.
And I think we left that in the other dimension, so we might have to make another.
We'll have to make another one. All right. But I loved Watchmen. I was one of those few people that really enjoyed Watchmen. I don't know if everything needs to be Watchmen.
Right.
That's my big gripe, is that I feel like, this direction, and again, it's sort of following the more modern comics, which I'm not reading. So again, I guess shame on me for not being with the times, but I just feel like Batman and Superman don't resemble Batman and Superman to me. But that being said, again, I think he's a talented director and a visual director. And if you're making comic book movies, they should be visual movies, and they're all very visual movies. I think he's in love with every frame of what he does. I would love to team Zack Snyder up with a decent editor.
Right. I would love to team Zack Snyder up with a decent writer, because I kind of feel that his visuals are great. There's nothing. I have no problems with the visuals of Man of Steel or Watchmen or even Sucker Punch or any of that. But the story is just generally sometimes has a little bit to desire, and I don't know if that's 100% him, or I don't know who wrote Man of Steel or any of those others. I know he wrote Sucker Punch, but.
Yeah, I don't know who's writing these movies either, and I don't know if the writing is just following the visual demands of those films.
That's great. I love like the scene of Man of Steel when he's first getting his powers, and he's starting to get like the X-ray vision, and all of a sudden the laser vision and all that stuff, and how he has to cope with that. And visually, that is an awesome scene.
Yeah. What's interesting about it, of course, we're talking about how great the visuals are, but Aaron sent me a very interesting thing that he had made. He just took the scene with Superman and the Flash running or racing each other. Right. And he just took a still of it and boosted the colors to where they actually look like themselves. Mm-hmm. And they don't have like a,
that stupid color grading.
Diarrhea colored sky. A couple of gray superheroes standing in a diarrhea verse. It was nice to see those bright colors on them, and I don't know when and if we'll ever be ready for colorful superheroes again. But that's the kind of thing I would see. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about people who love that stuff. They can't get enough of that, and they will physically fight you if you say that they're doing it wrong. So that's the opposite of someone who says everything sucks. These are people who can't ever
love it. Nothing's ever wrong.
They can't see any flaws in any of it. I feel like there are some Godzilla people who are like that too, where of course it's very fashionable to hate the Matthew Broderick one still.
Right.
But apart from that, they're just, if it's got Godzilla in it, you've got no right to complain about any other aspect of it. And then, you were saying that the Transformers, right? The Transformers fans are real loyal.
They're super loyal. They're loyal to a degree that it's painful. Because I myself am a G1 fan. I'm more so G1 than anything else. I've tried watching Beast Wars, and I've tried watching Prime with my kids when that came out and everything. And it's like I'm specifically in a specific generation of Transformers. Yeah. Anything beyond that is just kind of meh. But I don't know at what point they decided that everything has to look, you when you watch this movie, you have to make sure you get all your tetanus shots, because you're going to get tetanus of the eyeballs, because everything's got these sharp angles, and they're all pointy and sharp, no matter if you're the good guy, the bad guy, or everything in between. They got sharp, pointy teeth, and there's absolutely no color to them. Like the only one that has color is like Optimus Prime and like Bumblebee. And everybody else is like blacks or grays or anything else. And then we were speaking about writing, but then writing started to suck, because like my kids were just starting to get into the Transformers, and it's like, oh, this is a thing I can share with my kids. And we go to see the sequel, and then it's like I gotta dodge dick and ball jokes, and I've got to dodge the horny Transformer that's helping Megan Fox's leg. Megan Fox, period. Like we got to over sexualize her. We've got to have a sex robot that's running around with her tongue dragging on the ground. And it's like, where did you pull this from?
It's pandering, right? It's automatic guarantee. Sex it up, you get a bunch more people, I guess.
And the problem is like the fans, the true fans to Transformers love it to a degree where it's like, we have to love this, because if we don't love this, the opposite is that we won't get this anymore.
Yeah, some horror fans are like that too. Like some of the people with the Friday the 13th movies, or the Halloween movies, or fill in the blank horror franchises, is that we have to support this 100%.
No matter what.
We have to buy our ticket, even if it sounds like the worst movie we've ever heard of, because if we don't, they might cut us off, and we identify ourselves by this fandom so strongly that we would rather live in a universe of bad movies or misunderstood movies in our fandom than to have no new movies at all.
We love this unconditionally.
Unconditionally. And speaking of unconditional love, we have some sponsors that are hoping to get some of yours, and we'll be right back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia. Greetings, this is Mr. Lobo. Are you a sinsomniac? Do you stay up late and watch what normal people call bad movies till dawn? Black and white low-budget potboilers, box office bombs, West German talking car movies, rock bands versus monster movies, broken down school films, midget zombie and midget spy flicks, guys in gorilla suit movies, even old TV commercials, inappropriate cartoons, drive-in snack bar ads, and worse? Well, we like to say they're not bad movies, just misunderstood. Stay up late with Miss Mittens, your host, Mr. Lobo, and a revolving door of special guests, fellow horror movie hosts, robot monsters, and lovely Real 7 girls for a late-night TV slumber party that we call Cinema Insomnia. You can watch us on channel OSI 74 for Roku. We even have some episodes on Amazon and Alpha Video DVD. You may never get a good night's sleep again. The Transformers.
Yo, Joe.
I can't tell who's who.
No.
Who's who? Which Transformers are which?
Oh, I don't know. You remember when the Transformers came out and they had the heat decals and you couldn't tell what side they were on unless you put your thumb on them? Even though the decal was in the shape of whatever symbol, so you already knew. Or you looked at the packaging. They tried to make the packaging obscure, but you always knew who was the Decepticon and who was the Autobot.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I again, speaking of how, again, Zack Snyder has his movies are amazingly visual. The Transformers movies, I don't like the design of very much. No. I'll just come out and say it.
I mean, Bumblebee sold a ticket because in the previews they showed the G1 Transformers like in their colors and everything.
Yeah.
And I was so utterly pissed off because it was in the trailer. It was just something that was in the trailer. And it's what was in the trailer just spoiled what was in the movie because it was in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then they just went back to that Michael Bay eyesore of the stuff. And it's like, why couldn't you just make the whole movie like this? Why do you have to change it to that degree? Why is it, we watched the second one the other day and it just happened to be on TV and we were all watching it and we're watching the fight scene. And I just turn over to my friend and I'm like, all right, So who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? And they're like, I don't know. They're all gray. Everything's in slow motion. Everything's like they're punching each other to the degree that parts are falling off of them. I don't know who's who. I don't know who to root for.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the problem. It's like why they said how many that was one of the first movies that took a lot how many computers to render just one scene. And it's like, well, you made
every computer in the entire world working round the clock for 10 years.
Yeah, something like that. And it's
to make one of those scenes in the Transformers movie.
And it's like, yeah, well, if you didn't have to make them so overly detailed, it probably would have saved you on rendering time. At least help me as an audience member to identify what the freak I'm looking at.
If you just don't accept it wholesale, they won't make another crappy Transformers movie.
And they came close. Like I said, they sold. I didn't go to any of the Transformers movies after the second one, and they sold a ticket for Bumblebee, and then 5 minutes in, they changed it.
But that being said, I think a lot of people were surprised by Bumblebee. I mean, what Aaron always says, it's like one of those girl movies with the horse, except the horse is a car.
Right.
Car that turns into a robot.
Yeah, a car that turns into a robot. But
any other movie with a girl and her robot would be located behind those curtains in the back of the DVD rental store.
What is it now? What is it? What are you saying, Aaron?
Me or okay. Yeah, it's totally like an indie chick flick designed or disguised as a Transformers movie.
Yes.
But it still makes it leap
Indie
around
chick
the other
flick
five.
disguised as a Transformers movie. And it did so amazingly well that they're willing to reboot the entire franchise based just on that one movie, the strength of that one movie.
Would you say
And
that movie was transformative?
It was a transformative state, yes. It's a transformative work. But I think what's interesting about that is that, again, it's all commerce. It's like if suddenly someone decided that the one thing they really liked about, let's say, Suicide Squad was that horrible scene with Jake Gyllenhaal, or is it not Jake Gyllenhaal?
It's
the
Joker.
No, Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, sorry, not Jake Gyllenhaal. Jared Leto.
Gyllenhaal's delightful.
Jake Gyllenhaal is delightful, and we apologize to him and his family. I know they're to the left; they're all standing one foot to the left of where they normally are, but I hope they're doing fine. Again, everyone hated that Joker, but for whatever reason, if that one little scene with the Joker caught fire, they would just change everything to accommodate that.
Well, they pretty much were trying to, almost. Yeah. I think that's what Warner Brothers was. They were banking on this Joker, and then everybody hated the Joker, and then everything stopped down. Where it's like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy now. Yeah. We had all these plans with this guy, and like it changes the Birds of Prey movie, and it changes it changes a lot of aspects. It changes the Harley Quinn and Joker movie that never happened.
That actress who's Harley Quinn, Aaron, who's that? What's her name? Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie, again, everyone loves her. None of those movies are worth a damn. But they're just going to keep having her be Harley Quinn over and over again because they somehow know it's not her fault that those movies are not performing the way that they want them to.
Right. And they're even giving her like creative control to a degree where it's like,
yeah, I and again, it's a situation to where again, they made that Joker movie that was supposed to be outside the whole DC universe, and there was never supposed to be any crossover between that and the Batman that we know or any of the other films. But because that Joker movie was the biggest superhero movie or biggest comic book movie of all time, I should say, because it's not really a superhero movie,
right?
The biggest comic book movie of all time. Just because that's the biggest comic book based movie of all time, now they're suddenly going, oh, we got to try to, they're trying 900 different ways to try to somehow bring that into the DC universe, since that's the thing that, and that probably to a certain degree made them double down on how dark their superhero universe is.
And it's also, it goes against the director and Joaquin Phoenix, who were like, Joaquin Phoenix only wanted to do this because he only wanted a one-off. He wanted to be in a superhero movie, but he only wanted to be in a one-off role and didn't want to have to be tied back to anything. Yeah. And same with the director. They just wanted to do something that was out of universe and it'd be one and done and that's it. But now we have to sequelize it and have to make it a part of the universe, and we'll do it. And it's the typical mindset of the companies behind it, where we'll just do it without you. We'll do it with you, or we'll do it without you. It's your choice. You can get paid for this, or we'll pay somebody else. It doesn't matter.
And it's interesting because there are some franchises where they do draw that line in the sand and say, no, we're done. We don't want to poison the well, and we're really afraid that if we go any further forward that we'll start doing that. I think Bob Gale from Back to the Future, the Star Wars prequels, pretty much made his decision that he was not going to greenlight any or participate in any sequels to Back to the Future.
Right.
I think that's kind of a little more of a shame, because I feel like Back to the Future, and Star Wars, they are adventure stories, and I think it would be cool to see how much, to see other adventures in time with those characters. Right. But, again, he doesn't want to ruin the good thing that they've got.
Right.
By just indiscriminately trying to do a cash grab and throw together a movie that is going to spoil those other movies, And it always
seems like it's more on the side that it's going to be spoiled than actually be any good. It always seems like that's you get diminishing returns.
I mean,
especially
again,
when something is produced that it's not really intended to be a sequel anyway. So now you have to make something up to make it connective.
Yeah. It's a difficult situation, and again, there are some people that can do it well, and some people who can't do it well. I mean, I asked the group, and maybe we should. When are we close to a break? Not yet.
Not yet. We got some time.
Not yet. Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to save it for this one or the next one, but like I said, I did ask people what ongoing creative project has the most consistent output and best treats their fans. That is something that is interesting because, again, I don't know if Transformers necessarily treats their fans particularly well. Those are fans those fans are just ready to
they'll consume anything because they were just pretty much starved of it.
They can still buy those decals for their car and they're fine. I
think also on the toy front, that the toy front was absent for all those years, and now we have merchandise.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that a lot of it's driving the merchandise, and I think a lot of the fans of the toys, and again, this is a thing that started as a toy. The fans of the toys are certainly more than happy that there's all this product now that probably wouldn't have existed if the series wasn't rebooted.
Even though those toys have freaking they look like eyesores. I don't even want to pick them up in the box because I'm afraid they're going to jab me. Take them off the shelf.
It's interesting because they put that was something that Aaron was talking about as well. Is they put some of the new generation Transformers in the old style packaging, and from his estimation, the fans could sort of sniff those ones out and aren't as thrilled about those.
I noticed that because I've been picking a few things for Retro New Review.
Is that the plug? Is that the shameless plug?
That was a plug. No, I was just clearing my throat.
Hashtag plug, not plug.
But I picked up a few Transformers, and I've noticed that it's like they have like similar package, and you get like G1 Transformers, you get G1 the movie, so you get the animated movie, you get the more modern movies, you get Prime, like they're all mixed together, but they're all basically in the same package. Because I picked up a spoilers, but this is for Retro New Review.
Yeah.
The red package, which is they don't transform. They're actually more of an action figure, so that they could be molded to look more like their counterparts. So for Retro New Review, I picked up spoilers, but I picked up a Soundwave and an RC, which are part of the red packaging. So they're more focused on the action figures than the actual transforming. They don't transform at all.
Yeah.
And I got excited for RC because I kind of recognize, now I know like Alita 1's kind of first, but I recognize RC as being the first female Transformers from the cartoon, or from the cartoon movie rather. And I got excited when I saw RC, and I picked her up, and I was looking her over, and I'm like, why is she blue? Why is she? And then I realized I look on the side of the packaging, and it's like, oh, it's Transformers Prime. So it's like my daughter's generation's version of RC. It's not my version of RC, which she would be pink. And then I noticed like there's like the Cheetah. I want to say Cheetara, but that's Thundercats. But I think it's just Cheetah, which is from the Beast Wars. But they're all in the same packaging, so they're all like just up there, the Transformers, and they're all the same packaging. You just got to look for the little subtitle to say what series they're from. So they're totally marketing it for everything. And I think like even the Michael Bay versions are all in those similar packaging.
And I think Star Wars, I don't know if that was the first, but it seemed like they started doing that with the Star Wars things where they were making it all look like the Kenner packaging from when I was a kid. Yes. With the 70s Star Wars packaging, with the weird kind of border, the sort of curved border, and with the chrome and the space and the way the titles are laid out and the way the characters are positioned on it. It's all exactly like the old Kenner packaging for Star Wars. And and it's interesting when you see characters that would have never been released in that line or never been released in that time period in this sort of retro packaging.
It's funny that you bring that up because I have the Mandalorian, which they went back and it's retro. So the Mandalorian is molded in the 77 style of the figures, where they're not jointed at the arms or anything else. They're very very basic. And I was amazed to see they had the Kenner logo on the packaging. It does not say Hasbro.
Oh wow! So they just use the Kenner nameplate and everything.
Yes. And there's a line of Marvel characters that are also they're very basic, and they all have the Kenner logo on them. So they're more of like the throwback of the '80s kind of toys.
Well, and then I guess it comes back to the thing of, these are people who are participating in something that is their lifestyle.
Right.
You know, it's reminding them of something that they liked as a kid, or something that they identify with as part of their personality and who they are. And, you know, I'm a Transformers kid. I grew up with this. This is my generation. I'm a Star Wars fan. I grew up with this. This is my generation. This is part of how I express myself. This is my language that I speak between me and my friends. And so, you know, that's kind of become the currency of everything is that merchandise, and that lifestyle, and how people, like, you know, they want to see their favorite franchise in the Walmart t-shirts. You know what I mean? They want to see, be able.
You mean the Wall of Marts?
The Wall of Marts, yes, or the Tall Mart, as it is on my haunted house record. There's a kind of again, an implied lifestyle. People want to walk into their department store and go and walk down the toy aisle and see something that resonates with them and that's relevant with the things that they identify with. And I think that that's what causes those kind of overzealous fandoms, where they're willing to spend their money on keeping these movies and stuff going, because any sequel, any prequel, I've said this a million times, sequel, prequel, reboot, reimagining, it doesn't matter what it is, it always brings attention back to that original first project, whatever that is. The 77 Star Wars has had an enormous resurgence because of everything that's happened with the prequels and the sequel trilogy, and of course the backlash against the sequel trilogy. People are putting that focus again on the originals. Even the prequels have improved as far as people's perception of them, because every new project is putting that focus on it from the beginning, and all the earlier versions.
Right. And we've said that on the podcast before. So I just sold us another shirt that we have to make. All right. But we've said in the podcast before that you remember a time when the prequel trilogies were shit and everybody hated them, and now like everybody praises them. Now that we have the new series out, that everybody praises that, and the new series is garbage. You know.
Yeah, I guess we need we need an even worse trilogy to make the sequel trilogy shine.
Well, I guess it comforts me knowing that the next trilogy that comes out is going to be the worst trilogy, and then the last trilogy is going to be a lot better. So it will be reflected on a lot better. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, and we could talk about this when we come back. Like it, hate it, no matter what, it's still putting everyone's focus back on that property that they own and some aspect of it that they own. And speaking of crass commercialism, we're going to take another break, and we'll be back with more Sleepless Nights in the Sun.
Hold on tight. The most incredible rock and roll adventure ever is here.
Feed him to the shark guns.
Starring Judd Nelson as Hot Rod, Leonard Nimoy as
Galvatron,
and Orson Welles.
I am Unicron.
Beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination. Transformers, the movie. Coming to a theater near you this August.
You're not listening unless you step to a foot to the left, then maybe you can hear us.
Well, if you can't hear us, take out the right headphone and put in only the left headphone, because we're probably just being broadcast out of one headphone.
Yes, yeah. If you're that guy who listens to the podcast and Cinema Insomnia with one headphone in, working 15-hour shifts at the hospital, trying to do your work and listen at the same time, if you can't hear us, Pop the other one in. Pop the other earbud into the other headphone.
But if he can't hear us, how would he know that we're giving him instructions?
Oh, that's true. That's so true. I guess we'll wait for him to complain, then we'll tell him.
He goes like, did you try the left headphone?
I'm sure he'll love being called out, right?
Yes.
So everyone loves being called out. That's one thing I've learned. People love it when you call them out. So, one of the things that's interesting is, again, sometimes negative is met with a positive, right? And that's the rare thing, because there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, if you hate this movie, then you're sexist or you're whatever, or you're a bad person if you don't like this movie. There's a lot of where the corporate line is to attack the fans if they don't like the thing about the movie. You're a part of cancel culture if you hate this movie, or you're trying to be woke. That's why you don't like this movie.
If you like this movie, well, the director and the actress and anybody involved needs to be canceled because they did XYZ in this movie.
Yes. This person did something 200 years ago, and they worked on this movie, and of course no one knew that, but now the whole movie needs to never be watched again. So yeah, that kind of stuff. But on the other side of that, like there've been a couple of movies where they released the trailer and then to placate the fans completely changed the movie.
Right. Which is rare. They never do that. You just deal with the fans' backlash and you're just like, well, we control the franchise. We have the money. We'll just do whatever we want to do.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's almost a callback to the thing that people always sort of rejected, which was the market group, focus groups, where they would change the ending of a movie to please a focus group. And everyone thought that was so terrible. But now they're fully participating in change that movie, fire that actor and change the ending. Right. Now we're the most vocal in that when again, it was like, we want to see the director's vision. That doesn't matter anymore. It's, we want to be placated as fans.
Get rid of that whole sequel trilogy of Star Wars and just reboot it and start all over. But keep in mind that we hate reboots.
Yeah. Right. So there was a particular movie that you wanted to mention,
which I wanted to spin off of Transformers, because where Transformers are an eyesore and their fandom are like, well, if we don't pay to get this movie, we'll never get we'll never see these movies again. But it was kind of interesting where Paramount released the Sonic trailer. And I wouldn't say that it was a positive response to the trailer. I wouldn't say that they weren't bullied.
Yeah,
but Paramount doesn't need to change. They don't have to listen to the fans. There's histories of them never really listening to the fans. But this is an instance where they did listen to the fans and they did change the character to better match the original. Granted, the old one was a living nightmare to look at. But
it was like the Cats video, right? Where that came out, and it was like this strange, uncanny valley, upsetting thing where people really hated the Cats video. And then they just decided they would hate watch it, I think.
Right.
Although I guess what that's the butthole cut.
Yeah, that's where the whole butthole cut. But we've said that on a podcast. We'll sell a shirt on that one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. But as for Sonic goes, it's like I'm not the biggest Sonic fan in the world, but I applauded that sort of like that they went, okay, this is the audience we're making this for. They don't like how this character looks. That's a big problem. Can we spend more money and fix this before the movie comes out? Right. And they did. And I think a lot of people went to go see that movie just because they changed it.
I did. I had no intentions of seeing the Sonic movie, but I wanted to kind of vote with my wallet and, say, hey, you listen to the fans. Because, generally the studio outlook is that they're aiming after a general audience. So they don't want to, they don't want to please the fans. They want to get a broader audience. And I think that Paramount looked at it and said, well, this is the first and foremost. These are the people who are going to be buying tickets more so than a general audience. So maybe we should play towards their strengths a little bit more than just saying, we're just going to release it for a general cut,
And they may have even saw it as an opportunity. It's like, this could be some good PR for us if we do the right thing here and actually try to make this movie more pleasing if it's not working with audiences.
Right.
So that's, again, that's the other side, I guess, of being motivated commercially. But I think it paid off for them. They're right. Aren't they doing a sequel?
They're doing a sequel. Yeah, they've been dropping all sorts of stuff, and like all the new characters all look like they're from they're resembling the original sprites from the original game and stuff. And it's exciting. I mean, I'm definitely going to probably buy a ticket for another movie that I had no intentions of watching.
Yeah.
I just want to be entertained, goddammit, I want to. If you're going to go out of your way to make the fans happy, I want to reward you.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things like that. That I feel. Again, I will champion the. I mean, a lot of people, even though we talked about Mandalorian doing a very good job, a lot of people were very negative with the Mandalorian too. Mm-hmm. And
that didn't take long to get it back to Star Wars.
And I will defend just right here to the left. And I will defend that movie because it's like, oh, it's a filler episode, or there wasn't enough drama,
Right.
So that's the kind of thing where it's like they're clearly trying to make this fun. They're trying to give us adventures. They're trying to take us all over this wonderful universe and show us all these different fun and weird and exciting, creatures and characters and things.
They're using everything in the universe. They're not like, oh well, the sequel or the prequel trilogy sucks, so we're going to ignore it. No, we get the maintenance droids, and we get the. We get what is it? The engine of Anakin Skywalker, and we get
Salacious Crumb.
We get Salacious Crumb. We get was it R5? Even though there was extreme hate for R5, but we got R5. We don't ignore the prequels.
I mean, they're scavenging. Everyone on that planet is scavenging the very small amount of resources that are on that planet. It would make sense that we would see some of that hardware again.
Stuff come around because they're not getting anything from the central.
No.
Territories.
They're not getting anything, and it's gotten worse. But again, even without that logic, they're embracing all of the things that the fans have invested their time in. We know who R5D4 is because we're fans. Mm-hmm. We know what this droid is, or this object is, or that's the gun from the holiday special. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of those things mean something to us because we invested our time. We were presented this material, and we consumed that material because we were fans, and we're kind of being rewarded for putting that time in and consuming all of those stories because they actually are they aren't just random. They're all kind of integral parts of this universe that they've created for us. So I wanted to talk about, this is Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia fans group on Facebook, which is close to 4,000 members right now. Mm-hmm. Again, this
4,000 members
or bust.
3 calling birds, 2 French kisses.
3
Miss Mittens.
Oh no.
And Mr. Lobo in a podcast.
And a pod racer. Why am I on Facebook? Why am I in this group? Mm-hmm. I'm motivated just by fan reaction, just as anyone else. There's 4,000 fans in here, so I put intention in that. 2 years ago, this group had 700 people in it. Mm-hmm. I don't know why this particular group on Facebook has organically grown so much, but it's definitely it's gotten my attention, and I'm willing to put my time in there, even though I hate Facebook. Anyway, here we go. So I asked the group, what ongoing creative project has the most consistent output and best treats their fans? And of course, Dana Reems, who made the Xenia movie, by the way, the director, he under the pseudonym Andre W. Veers.
Okay.
He says, Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia. What else? Which is a very nice thing to say.
Okay.
And then Lee Finney says Shaft.
Okay.
And I said, shut your mouth. That's what I said. Dick L. Dews says, yours is the rare occasion where it feels sincere and not like PR softness. And I think that is part of it, where if whoever is on the creator or the filmmaker end of these things, where those changes feel sincere or maybe coming from a good place other than just it being a cash grab, right? Mm-hmm. And that's hard to make something feel sincere, whether it's sincere or not. So, and of course, Michelle Kleinhaus is like, truth. So, yeah, we got a lot of, again, we've got some really amazing, loyal fans because we've dropped the ball all over the place, and they still forgive us. Dale Kipperly says, well, it's been kind of delayed by the pandemic, but I'd say Sergio Gomez comic book Gru the Wanderer.
Ooh.
There's a lot of cartoonists out there still slinging ink every day. Yeah, and Sergio Gomez he draws that whole book, right? I mean, no one else draws it.
And he used to draw for Mad on top of that.
He drew the margins, all the awesome margins in Mad Magazine, and several features in Mad. Mm-hmm. But amazing cartoonist, a personable, wonderful man. Like, he would sit in on panels of conventions on how to make indie comics. It's like, you don't need to sit on that panel. You work for Mad Magazine. But he just wants to listen to see what these other kids are doing.
Support them.
He wants to support them. Mm-hmm. So I think that's amazing that he has such goodwill. And every time you hear his fans talk about his work in Mad or Gru, they're always like, he's such a sweet person. The art is so amazing. The humor is so on point. So there he is. He's getting his due here as fans are coming out saying Gru. And I loved Gru in the 80s. Reading it in the 80s, I loved that comic. That was
I've never read it, but I know of it, and that says a lot about his artwork if you know of it, because it's so unique. He's got unique caricatures with that.
Brian Frank says Trailer Park Boys. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never watched that, but
consistent series coming out 1-2 times a year, going on podcasts with fan interaction in character every month. When they were canceled by Netflix, they went out and did their own streaming service, as opposed to begging their fans to fund something that they will own. Ooh, wow, that was a backhanded slap. Joel from Mystery Science Theater is going, ow, what happened?
He's trying to figure out what the hell why does his face hurt all of a sudden?
Yeah, see, exactly. He got pinched in the ear. And that has had a lot of backlash, some of that funding from Mystery Science Theater. Where other shows by other creators are featured, and a ton of free clips are up on Facebook, IG, and YT. What is that?
Instagram and YouTube.
YouTube? Okay. I am not saying they're the best, but to me, that is a gold standard of how you do it, and they've been doing it for 10 plus years. So they really, I guess, feel that, particularly Brian seems a little annoyed that, I guess, Mystery Science Theater probably, after raising $12.5 million or whatever from their fans the first go around, which was matched by Shout Factory or Netflix.
Right. And now they're doing it again.
And now they're doing it again, and they're okay. If you give us, $2.5 million, we'll make 3 episodes, and then if you give us $5 million, we'll make 4 episodes. And I think whereas some fans are like the Transformers fans, where it's like, we just want more Mystery Science Theater at any cost. Right. We want to keep this relevant. We want to keep shows coming out, and as fans, we're going to do whatever it takes. I think there's also fans on the other side of that who feel real burned, and I've heard both sides, and it is interesting. I'm a little bitter because it's like, okay, they want to do a virtual reality theater. Mm-hmm. They want to do a Roku channel. Mm-hmm. They want to do live streaming events. And
this all sounds familiar.
And they want to do 3 episodes. And I'm like, well, that's just what we did during the pandemic.
It all sounds familiar, and we did more than 3 episodes.
Yeah. So,
and we didn't get 2 million or whatever.
Yeah. And I apologize to my Misty fans, because I do love all those guys. I think they're brilliant. I just, I do kind of feel like I would be very concerned about burning the fans out, and they don't seem to have too much of that concern.
Right.
Do you know what Billy Bragg even is?
No, I can't say I do.
So it's interesting. So it's another musician that's giving us fandom. So maybe, do you think musicians have a little more experience as far as they have to go on tour and meet the fans, and maybe musicians are a little bit better at trying to please their fans?
More face-to-face time, I guess.
I don't know.
I mean, I've said this before on the podcast, cha-ching, but Weird Al Yankovic went out of his way to appease his fans and stuff. So
yeah, and he has an enormously loyal. I mean, if they could erect a solid gold statue of Weird Al Yankovic and have him be the halftime act at every Super Bowl from now to the end of time, they would.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin Smith, too, he goes out of his way to make sure all of his fans are happy.
And he has a tremendous reputation, tremendous reputation with his fans. And even though Kevin Smith has made some terrible movies, they're always on his side. And he seems to be on their side, too. Mm-hmm. So, and he's right down there in the trenches with the fans. So that's another person that maybe deserves some appreciation.
He may make terrible movies, but he's also on the side of I'm doing what I love.
Yeah, and they're consistent. They're consistent to what he likes and his sensibility.
Right. Be that whatever your opinion is about him is whatever your opinion is. But I guess.
My favorite thing he did was the Clerks cartoon, and I could care less about most of the rest of it.
Right.
But I still have some respect for him.
I'll make sure he doesn't hear that if we ever finally get that damn interview scheduled.
He'll respect that. He'd respect that.
He probably would.
And last but not least is back with the gooey. I don't know if this is salted caramel or not, but Little Debbie. Isn't that like a snack cake or a food? I guess there's some consistency.
Unless there's a singer, it's called Little Debbie. I don't know.
I guess I could look real quick. I'm afraid to put.
I'm afraid.
Debbie
you probably get porn.
Search bar.
Maybe that's what they meant.
Maybe I'm going to get on a list. No. Snack cakes. I like the oatmeal. I like the Swiss rolls. I like the oatmeal cream pies. The zebra ones are really good. For our wedding, actually, Dixie and I, for our wedding, they had the little heart-shaped ones. What are those called? Do you know what those ones are called? Sweethearts or something? Let me look and see if they're in it. They're only around Valentine's Day, and they're little heart-shaped Little Debbie cakes. And for our wedding, we just stacked a bunch of them in the shape of a wedding cake. So every single person could just take one little snack cake, just slide out their one little piece of their one little individually wrapped Little Debbie cake, and then that was their cake for our wedding. So, but yeah, we also had our reception at a pizza buffet. So we're classy people. But so there you have it, folks. Thank you for being our loyal fans and listening to us through thick and thin. We certainly try to please you. We certainly hope that we are. I always joke with Aaron whenever we're making Cinema Insomnia, and I think I've made this joke with you. We've got our own franchise to ruin,
and we're doing a hell of a job ruining it.
So we're doing our best to ruin our own franchise rather than just complaining about other people's. And until the next time until the next episode where we're Monday morning Lucas somebody else's project.
Well, the next episode is not an episode, so.
Oh, wow. So we'll see what we're not going to be complaining about next week.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com, or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo. MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter @Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at bestow.tv, on YouTube /Bestow TV, on Twitter at BestowProd, P-R-O-D, and on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
Podcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.